rank are you guys? Who was it who shared? Phil, I think, shared this Clan War replay. In what league are you guys? In what league are you guys? Gale. Okay. Where does it? Is it like Squall, Gale, Storm, Typhoon, Hurricane? I think that's how it goes. So this is pretty much. Let's see. First of all, setups. The setups actually look pretty good on both sides. There's no obvious, really weird ships. Pretty cookie cutter meta setup. In general, if you bring a Zhao to a clan war, the idea is Zhaos in generally, you either use them to push aggressively ahead of a fleet if you're running single DD setup, but if you're running a double DD setup like you guys are, then you use Zhaos to kite and you use them on the defensive side. The defensive side meaning the ship, or the side where you send less ships, and the side that you don't intend to push, but the side you just want to hold. In general, in Clan Wars, there's always a weak side and a strong side, because, well, there's 7 ships, one side is always going to be stronger than the other, and even though most clans try to sometimes get it fairly balanced, most of the time you end up with more forces on one side, and that's the side you attempt to push down through. Double gearing, you got gearing Yu Yang. I assume it's radar Yu Yang, because that's why people bring Yu Yang to Clan Wars. That radar is just so very strong. Concealment looks okay. Standard, pretty standard build. Fighter plane, that's perfectly fine. Especially if... It kind of depends. You can run both spotter and fighter, both are pretty okay. I guess fighter plane is better, especially if they're sending you solo on a flank, which it looks like they're actually doing. In that case, fighter plane is not a bad option at all. One gearing being sent to middle, that's very common tactic as well. Scouting early information. Yu Yang being sent to cap. Behind the island he can radar the cap. Usually a pretty good way of getting the early capture advantage. The advantage of sending a DD into C early on this map is that the enemy team hasn't gotten to this point yet, meaning they can't reset him easily. If he hides behind the island like he's doing, they can't really reset him. Enemy gearing is spotted, opening fire. Oh, that Zhao HE. That disgusting Zhao HE. That was a nice hit. That gearing instantly damage cont. That's a very questionable decision, because if you guys had gotten a second fire on him now, he would be pretty fucked. He insta damage con, which is very debatable. Usually you delay the damage con a bit more than that, but he got away with it. Lucky for him. Good damage though, 9k on a DD. You have also managed to cap C, and you should be able to secure A for your team as well. So pretty good early advantage for your team. See, I don't like this Hindenburg being nose in. I don't like this Hindenburg being nose. Oh, I like this position even less. Neither of these Hindenburg have good positions. Why is this a weak position? Because if the enemy pushes or plays aggressive on this side, as long as they're nose in either to an island or towards the enemy, they will struggle to disengage. And that's why Hindenburgs should always be in a position to be able to kite away. Oh. Haha, that was... Nope, never mind. I was about to say that was lucky, but not really. In general, that's probably something I should have highlighted. If you're fighting a gearing, you're fighting a DD, and they have double DD, and you have your gearing isn't between you and him, you probably should have wanted to pop Hydro. It's a bit late to be popping the Hydro now, but I guess that was kind of a fuck. I should have used this consumable earlier, so you popped it now. I didn't even consider it until you actually ate the torps, but in retrospect that was pretty obvious that should have been popped. The gearing is playing very aggressive though. That gearing should actually be dead right now, because he shouldn't be able to disengage if Yu Yang is running a radar. The Yu Yang should be able to keep him radar spotted. You should turn hard right. This is very risky. Very risky turning to shoot him. That was greedy. Oh, if that Des Moines wasn't a potato, you would be getting citadel multiple times right now. That was fairly fortunate. If the Des Moines was running Steven Seagal and the proper Clan War spec, he could have switched to AP in a second and he would have blapped you with AP in the broadside. Luckily for you though, he potatoed and you kind of got away with it. Your team already has a huge advantage though. The Gearing did get killed. That's of course why Yu Yang is so strong. If Yu Yang and Gearing spot each other, Gearing can't disengage because the Yu Yang radar will chase him down and keep him spotted much longer. That's why it's a really nasty thing for Clan Wars to deal with. You can't really push on this flank, you probably shouldn't. I assume your FC wants you to go wide. The reason why you send Zhao wide on this map is if they attempt to make a push, a wide Zhao creates a crossfire between whatever ships you have here and your wide Zhao here. It creates this nasty crossfire that is extremely hard to deal with because the only thing that can deal with the Zhao is something with comparable concealment. So that's why you always send a Zhao wide on the flanks. And you're spotted. This is where a Hydra would be very useful, but you kind of using it after you gotten torps, it's kind of too late. But this gives you information. I do note that you're not running RPF, and that's awful. This is something we often have to tell new Omni recruits. You always run RPF on Zhao. The reason why you always run RPF on Zhao is when you get sent into these kind of positions, which Zhao excels in, which is the wide flanking positions, you need to know where the DD is, and you need to know if there's a DD pushing you. And in this case, you have no idea where the DD is. He could already be over here, he could be sitting down here. You don't have this information. And that also makes it harder for you to get undetected when you need to get undetected, because you don't know which way you should be sailing to quickly get rid of him. So RPF is almost required on a flanking Zhao. It's a 16-point captain, fair enough. That's a good argument, but ideally, of course, if you had a 19-point captain, RPF is extremely valuable. In randoms, no, you don't need RPF in randoms. You don't even run RPF in randoms. It's completely pointless on a cruiser in randoms. We're talking Clan Wars here. Clan Wars are completely different than randoms. Oh wow, he gives you that flat broadside and another 8k. Another 8k volley on him. Oh, that's a pretty dangerous broadside you're giving there. Actually, you are pretty far away, so the risk should be small. Still though. You will force the Gearing to move though. That is good. The threat of you pushing in like this Gearing is overextended. The Gearing was so eager to keep you spotted that he overextended, and he's kind of fucked. Your Gearing here should actually be keeping him spotted. Ideally, your Gearing here, which would be sitting outside the smoke here. Why should he be sitting outside the smoke? So he can see if this guy disengages this way. Because this Gearing has to disengage because he knows the Zhao might push him with Hydra. So if your Gearing was sitting here, he could see if he was disengaging. But now you lack this information. You should be loading AP preemptively. You're about to get Hindenburg broadside. Absolutely should be loading AP already. See the Moskva? The Hindenburg has to angle against the Moskva. And if you have AP loaded, you force him into... Oh, look, he's giving you perfect broadside. This is a missed opportunity. This Hindenburg... You guys could kill this Hindenburg. Okay, you finally noticed, but he's already angled away, and now he's going to be able to turn... Well, he's actually not reacting fast enough. Wow, that guy kind of had the reactions of a snail. If this was a higher league, that guy would have... Well, first of all, he probably wouldn't have pushed into that position, but second of all, he would have turned much sooner. This looks like scroll zoom. I hate scroll zoom. Why are you using scroll zoom? Trying to get the Gearing as higher priority. The Gearing isn't really a threat in itself. What exactly is the Gearing going to do to you right now? You were running Hydro, he can't torp you. Your Gearing had more health than he did, so he can't win a 1 versus 1. Your Moskva right there has Hydra and radar, so the Gearing can't actually get close. So the Gearing's and the Gearing had used his smoke, which means he can't even smoke up his allies. So the Gearing in itself was actually kind of a non-threat. The big threat was the Hindenburg that was pushing your teammates, and especially pushing your Moskva that was already quite low HP. So while you generally want to shoot DDs as your priority, in Clan Wars, especially when you have a lead like this, there's really no reason to focus him when you can just secure a kill instead and get the points that way. And with the Hindenburg dead, it's not that the gearing in itself is gonna do shit. This game is very much over. I don't know why this Des Moines sat here and didn't push up with his... If the Hindenburg pushes, then the Des Moines needs to push with him as well. The Montana is playing way too safe. He's got way too much health left still. I mean, you can tell it was Gale level gameplay from the enemy team, but still, many of the things apply. Many of the things apply. Right, that was actually pretty fun to watch a Clan War. Watch a Clan War game from someone else. It's always easy when you analyze Clan Wars to make out what mistakes someone is doing. It's much harder to do it, to call them yourself. What the fuck am I watching?
You're not known to be a humble man, but I wonder...
Right, let's see, what else do we have?
I think I'm much more humble than you would understand.
A Nethercant, thank you for the sub. Much appreciated. Whoa, 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 holy shit. Suddenly we have a lot of replays. Gearing Clan Wars game, that's interesting. Let's see, what do we have? We have... Let's actually take a second Clan Wars. First of all, Nethercat, thank you. Tier 2 5 months. Much appreciated. Let's check out the Clan Wars game. I kind of want to check out some Clan Wars because I haven't really commented on any Clan War replays, and I've done... I mean, I've commented on so many different types of ships, but I've never done Clan Wars, so it's a nice change of pace. How about the captain that doubles the effects of IFHE? Oh god, don't give them any ideas. Don't give... Imagine like Krasny Krim with double IFHE captain. Suddenly that HE can actually pen everything. Yeah, Chattaha, that's actually... that's something I should... Fuck, I should write that down. I'm gonna copy that, because that's something I wanted to ask. I'm actually gonna ask them in the Wargaming dev channel. We have a channel where we can communicate directly with the Wargaming devs, and I'm actually gonna ask them about being able to bind consumables directly, because that's something I wanted for a long time. I hate when you switch ships and suddenly the binds change. I would love to be able to use the same binds for every consumable, regardless of what ship I'm playing. Right, let's see, what do we have here? What league are you guys in, Bezaliel? What league is this? Anyway, what do we have here? Double Des Moines, Hindenburg, Zao gearing. Okay, they're running a single DD setup, you're running double DD setup. Ideally, you should be getting scouting advantage and potential capping advantage because you're running double DD. In return, you should be losing out on the gunfight power because, once again, you're down one cruiser, which is a pretty damn big deal. I don't like the double gearing though. I don't like the fact that you're running double gearing because it's kind of overlapping purposes. One Z52 or one Yu Yang would give you so much more flexibility in your comp. Like pushing a Z52 or a Yu Yang up to this position is so much stronger than pushing a gearing up to this position, because it kind of can take care of itself, and that gives it so much more additional information. You're running Concealment Expert, you're running RPF, you're running Survivability Expert, so you're not running Superintendent. I wonder what else. Are you running Torp Reload or Vigilance? I'm actually really surprised that you're not running Superintendent in a Clan War gearing. That's questionable. I wonder what build you're running here. I'm very surprised to not see, because one of the big strengths of the gearing is the amazing smokes, and not having an additional one. Debatable. Okay, this is pretty risky. You can be shot from here. This is very risky. Are you paying attention? You're not looking at. The Hindenburg is popped up on a minimap. That means he's shooting you. You need to look. Okay, more map awareness. When you get radared like that, when you get radared in a situation like this as a DD, you don't want to be looking around you at the ships. Okay, you want to get closer to this island. You want to hump this island. Pop your speed boost for better maneuverability. No, this is very dangerous. If they have someone here, you're dead right now. If the Montana went this way, you're dead. Des Moines popped up on the right. Des Moines popped up on the right. Okay, you want to get close and hump this island. You want to pop your speed boost for maneuverability bonus, and you want to hump this island right here. Okay, you're choosing to completely disengage. That's fine. Fundamental issues there. If you're gonna go for this cap, you need to glue yourself right next to the cap. But even then, this position is not a good spot to capture this side from. The best spot to cap C from is actually this island here, because you can actually get into proper cover there. Here though, you saw the crossfire that Des Moines can get in on you, and you saw the kind of firepower they can get in. The enemy team is misplaying heavily by sending the Hindenburg in though, and ideally you should be able to punish him if your team focus fires him to death. But if you play a DD in a clan war and you get radared, what you want to be looking at is not your surroundings. You want to be staring at the minimap, because there's a delay when ships render, but they render instantly on the minimap, but they visually render delayed, like 2 or 3 seconds delayed. So if you just stare at the minimap, as soon as you see a ship pop up after your radar, you know that someone is popping up from somewhere, or you know where they're shooting from just based on that. And that gives you so much information, and that allows you to dodge much sooner. And it can be the difference between eating a huge volley or just dodging it entirely. I assume that was radar by your teammate. This gearing, you can't cap from here. This position doesn't work at all, what that this gearing is trying. This is super dangerous. The Zao from here should be creating a crossfire right now as well. I guess the big difference in leagues is that people in these leagues try to contest these caps from positions that are simply not viable, and that's kind of the issue on both sides here. I don't know why your Des Moines is charging this cap. I really don't know why your Des Moines is charging this cap. This is super risky. There's double enemy Des Moines radaring here. There's no way he's gonna get away with this. This Des Moines is probably dead. This is a horrible position for a Des Moines. This is a horrible position. That's once again another thing that I guess separates the different leagues, is that in higher leagues, teams don't try to force capture points like this. They figure, okay, we can't get the cap, we're just gonna make sure the enemy can't get the cap either. But in these lower leagues, people try so desperately to create this advantage for themselves that they're willing to push into what is essentially suicidal positions just to try to secure the capture point. And that's not really a good trade. It's not really a good situation, and this Des Moines D1, he's already dead. There's no way he can disengage from that position. He's guaranteed dead. It's just a matter of time. Is Battleship AP gonna blap you? Nope, you get really fortunate. Are you gonna actually be able to disengage from this position? Now, ideally, you want this Moskva. Either he reverses and helps deal with this shit, or he pushes in aggressively and blaps this Des Moines in the broadside, because this guy is dead. He's already dead. This guy probably dead as well. Both your Des Moines pushed way too deep. Des Moines is a positional holder. You put it in one spot and it locks down that position, and no one can really do shit. But what you're trying to do here is you're trying to push with double Des Moines, and that's never gonna work because the ship is too squishy and they just melt it. As you can see, this D1 guy, he's gonna die. I called he was gonna die like a couple of minutes ago, and it's finally coming true now. And he's dead. He does manage to trade a Des Moines, because for some reason the enemy Des Moines decided to push in as well. No idea why. There was no reason for him to push in. He could have just sat there at the island. He could have sat back here and just farmed damage, being much safer than he was down here, but questionable. Extremely risky. This guy hasn't used his radar yet. You need to pay attention. You were radared by this guy earlier. Yep, and there's the radar that I was talking about. You need to pay attention to who's radaring you and when. This was very obvious. He knew he was spotted. It was obvious he was going to pop radar, because the only thing that could spot him was the DD, and we knew he still had his radar available. Luckily though, he... Okay, well, you should be dead in this position. You should be dead in that situation. But one of the main... Oh my... Jesus Christ, those torps look fucking scary. One of the main things you want to keep in mind when playing gearing or any DD in Clan Wars is who is radaring you and when. Because when there's two radar ships like that, you need to pay attention to who it was who was radaring you. It was the other Des Moines who radared you, so we knew this guy had his radar up, which made that move... Well, it made the things that happened very predictable. This Des Moines is isolated. Your Montana could probably rush him, depending on how well the rest of your team is doing. Your Montana could probably rush him. Des Moines doesn't do well 1 versus 1 against the battleship. They're trading evenly. The Zhao is disengaging. Honestly, yeah, the best play right now would be Zhao, full speed, disengage, Montana, disengage, and you 3-man this Des Moines and kill him. That would be the best play. You give up B, who cares? You kill the Des Moines, and then you got such a huge numerical advantage that you automatically win the game. There's still 10 minutes left, there's not many points being traded. It would be the easiest way to win this game.
Engine boost deactivated.
You know he's used his smoke, or his radar. You could potentially just smoke up and shoot him. There's nothing stopping you. I would probably pop AP and just blap him, but it looks like he's actually turning to catch your predictive torps, which were quite good actually. Those torps look very juicy. I'm a bit surprised he made such a very predictable turn, but that's good for you of course, and good for your team. Now, good move here. You know your Zhao is being pressured by 2 cruisers. He's in huge trouble. Why not turn towards your Zhao and smoke him up? They can't spot the Zhao if you smoke him up. The Zhao can sit in that smoke and farm the enemy team. You should have absolutely turned for him and you should have smoked him up. If he goes down, that's kind of your fault at this point. Well, whoever the FC is, but generally you should have rushed him and smoked him up. There's no reason for him not to be smoked up. Like this 1 versus 1 between the Zhaos, he would win it easily with your smoke. I'm trying to get to our Zhao. Your Zhao is this way. Did you forget how to turn or something? What? You're trying to get to our Zhao. This is... what? He says no. Well, then he's an idiot. If your Zhao says no to a smoke, then he's an idiot. In that case, there was no reason for not to smoke him up in that situation. Well, now that you have such a numerical advantage, when the other cruiser died, it doesn't really matter anymore. But there was absolutely no reason not to smoke up the Zhao, and then just spot for him and have him just shit on the enemy Zhao from smoke. There was absolutely no reason not to do it. But yeah, some questionable plays. This is something I see very often though. People often complain about high tier ranked being too passive, or like a camp fest and snore fest and so forth. But there's a reason people play safer, and that's because pushing into these caps is often just suicide. You get crossfired and you get absolutely wrecked, and it's generally not recommended at all. that the KS? I believe. Not quite. And the game ends. But yeah, first of all, if you really are trying to improve as a clan, you're trying to improve in Clan Wars, go into a training room and try to park your cruiser, or try to park your DD in a position, and then see from which positions the enemy team can actually shoot there. And for example, that island you tried to cap in the beginning, it's a weak island because you can get shot from multiple angles, which makes it garbage. And if you are radared as a DD in a clan war, stare at the minimap, don't look around, just look at the minimap. The minimap will tell you instantly. Gale, close game against the Typhoon clan. Okay, let's check that out next. Those games where you're trading partners, it was a weird game. Yeah, but I mean, even if it's trading partners, some of those mistakes, it doesn't matter if it's trading or not. Some like push it. First of all, Des Moines, that kind of push won't work. If you want to push, first of all, if you push in a Des Moines, you got to make sure that the flanks will be covered in your new position, and you have to have the option to disengage if you take too much pressure. Pushing up to that island, you had none of those choices. That Des Moines was being shot from both sides, and he had no option to disengage, meaning he was guaranteed dead. You can't push in those situations. It's never gonna work. It's a guaranteed death sentence. Like, it's perfectly okay to not get a lead, an advantage right at the start. It's perfectly okay. You don't need to force an advantage. You can just let the game play out for a while and see if you can find an opportunity. Because that game really showed something you see very often in the lower league clan wars, and that's both teams are so desperate to gain that lead, to gain that advantage, that they try to force it. And they kind of throw away the game by trying to force it too hard. And it's not easy to push in this game. This game, there's a definitive advantage to being the defending player. It's easier to kite away and shoot backwards and so forth. It's just easier to defend than it is to push. So this is a Gale versus a Typhoon. You got a rental Montana, that's interesting. Looks like pretty default setups. Trip Des Moines, Hindenburg. Z52 being pushed on the pushing side. Interesting setup. Interesting setup. See, well, the thing is, with no DD on this side, you're gonna be extremely late in getting any information on this map. If you send a DD down this side, and you send two cruisers up this way, especially a Des Moines that's probably going to park at this island, the standard Des Moines position, you're not going to have any information for ages. What you're doing when you're playing a tactic like this is that you're banking, you're really, really hoping desperately that the enemy team won't play aggressively on this flank. Yeah, there's camo, there's flags. Because if the enemy team plays aggressively on this side, by the time you realize that they're actually aggressively pushing, they're already going to be in your face. Oh, never mind, the Montana actually turned around. I thought the Montana was going this way. Having a Montana with you makes all the difference in the world. Having the Montana on this side means that pushing this side becomes much harder, and that makes this much safer. So, why is the Hindenburg here though, instead of the Za? That is questionable. Because this is the strong side. This is the side where you have the scouting. This is the side where you have more forces. And this is the weak side. In general, you want to send your Zal to the weak side. Because if you have to disengage, if you have to delay, if you have to kite, then you want the Zao in that position. You don't want a Hindenburg, because the Hindenburg doesn't do it nearly as well, and it doesn't have as good concealment. So Zaos always go to the weak side of the map. And right now you're sending the Zao to the strong side and the Hindenburg to the weak side. DPM for kiting? No. If you're trying to disengage and kite, Zao is the king. DPM doesn't matter. It's survival and delay. when you're kiting away from ships pushing you, you're not gonna get kills. Unless the enemy team is absolute garbage. But if they're any good, they're just gonna stop chasing if they get too low, and they'll disengage that way. You're never gonna get any kills like that. In general, you also want multiple Hindens on the same side, because Hindenburgs together, because of that DPM and that German HE penetration, they just melt anything. It doesn't matter what it is, they melt everything. No point shooting, absolutely no point shooting. Interesting early radar. No RPF either. If you're playing single... Usually if you play single DD setups, you kinda want RPF on some of the flanking ships. Having no RPF on the side ships... I hope the Hindenburg is at least running RPF, because you might be completely blind here. Oh, the Yu Yang was actually here. You got very lucky that your radar happened to catch him, because your radar is about to run out. And that's the end of your Hindenburg. And that is exactly why you don't send a Hindenburg to the weaker side. You never send a Hindenburg to the weaker side. He gets spotted a mile away, he's too vulnerable. It's just a no. Zhao to the weak side, Hindenburg to the strong side. And now the thing I spoke about earlier, being a Des Moines on the weak side with no scouting. See, this was the downside of not having a DD on this side. By the time you realize that they're pushing this side, you kinda already got fucked. By the time you realized they were pushing this side, you kinda already got fucked. And now it's if this enemy team was smart, they would be pushing aggressively as hell. If they realized just what situation they had, they would push really aggressively, and you would be fucking dead. But it looks like they're kind of dragging their feet, and you will be able to disengage. You should flee right now, by the way. This absolutely should not be staying here. This is a lost position. Should disengage and flee. This is what I spoke about. Everything I spoke about in the beginning is kind of becoming true here. So in that sense, this is a really good example of multiple things. Why you want to have your DD to give you information on this side of the map, and why you don't send your Hindenburg on the weaker side. Double fires, they smoked up the Des Moines. You got undetected briefly. If you stop shooting and wait for your firing debuff, then you should be able to damage con and get undetected. Okay, you should absolutely not be shooting. Your goal is to stay alive. Damage con, damage con. Okay, instant damage con, that's good. And you just want to get the hell out of here. You should be turning your guns as well. I don't know why you're not turning them. Okay, you're turning your guns now, that's good. But this position, yeah. The problem is as well, this information the Z52 is giving you, it gives the information so very late. If you send a DD around like this, by the time your DD actually becomes useful is only when he's sailed all the way from the spawn, all the way past this island here, and when the DD is somewhere around here, only then does he actually become useful. Because now he's finally giving you information. Whereas if you send the DD this way, he starts giving you information almost instantly. And that information allows you to plan your tactics and so forth. So if single DD is set up sending the DD this way, very risky. If you're planning on pushing this side, it works. Because then you can have a DD scouting and you can have something like a Zhao here as well, and then you can delay them with torps and shooting and so forth. That might work. And then you got radars and you're just pushing with so much firepower that it doesn't matter if the enemy is there. But this was just a fundamental early game mistake, I would say. Or deployment mistake when it comes to how you put your ships out there. This push here is never gonna work, by the way. These guys should just chill the fuck out at this point. They are outgunned, heavily outgunned, because the Montana is there. That was a questionable radar. You just got spotted. You just got spotted. So there was no chance he was within radar range yet. I understand you're kind of desperate to just survive at this point, so I don't really blame you. But ultimately, it's one Zhao, so the threat is probably not as massive. These guys should chill though. I'm really worried about these guys. Or the thing is, you actually have the enemy team split up right now. These guys are chasing you. You know the Gearing was chasing you based on the fact that you were spotted, and you know the Zhao is chasing you. So you know there's at least 2 of their members here. If these guys chill and you guys manage to regroup with them, you can force this flank with overwhelming firepower. The problem is, I think these guys are pushing a bit too hard, and you can see the amount of health they're losing, and it might be costing you the game. Are they not using voice comms? Of course they're using voice comms. It's very easy to call this shit afterwards, and you gotta consider these are still what Gale versus Typhoon, so this is much better than the average player out there. Z-52 has gotten very close. Because you killed the Des Moines, they have no more radar, so Z-52 might get some clutch torps in on the Montana. The Montana is completely out of position as well. I don't know why this Montana is so close. The Montana could have been sitting back here and supporting the team just fine. They had the cap advantage, they had the ship advantage. The Montana can just sit here and stop the push. All they need to do at this point is stop the push and they win. But for some reason this Montana pushed way too deep, and I'm pretty sure your cruisers are farming him. So, big misplay from the Montana, which might actually help you guys a lot. And the Montana goes down. That Montana, you don't play. That was way too aggressive. I don't know why he went all the way over here. He could just sat back here, and just having a battleship here when the enemy team doesn't have a battleship there is enough to completely stop any push in its tracks. It would completely have stopped the push. There was no need for him to push in like that, and well, they're actually in trouble now because the overwhelming firepower they had on this side is now lost because they lost the battleship. And now these guys have to disengage, and these guys will be able to reinforce and probably cap B as well. You should stop shooting now, try to get undetected. Survival is your goal here, not kills.
Problem solved, sir.
Next volley will kill you, I don't think you can dodge enough. Well, if the Zhao actually shot you, there we go. But survival more of a priority than dealing damage there. You kind of just wanted to try to survive. Now your Montana, obviously the Gearing will be pushing this cap. So if you were smart, you would pull this Des Moines up here to this island. Let's see, can we get free cam somehow? No, we can't really do shit with free cam. This Des Moines here, he's not achieving anything by pushing this way anymore. You should pull him back up to this island so that he could radar C and prevent delay C as long as possible. Because the Gearing is going to be capping C as soon as the Montana leaves. And there's nothing you can do about it. I hate that you can't do anything with the free cam. Can't even open the map. That sucks. I assume this became a loss though, because your team played too aggressive. The team on this flank played too aggressive. I mean, the Montana played too aggressive as well, but your cruisers played too aggressive and traded too much health. If they would have been started pushing now, when the Montana is here, they might have gotten something more done. But questionable. I think the Gearing was constant spotting me and I was going down anyway. Yeah, I understand that you were trying to do as much damage as possible, but your goal should still be survival at any cost. You can jump ships. Now I tried it. Nothing works. Not even space. But the big issue this game was the early deployment. Hindenburg was on the wrong side. DD was on the wrong side. I would have loved to see Des Moines, Zhao, DD going this way. Des Moines, Zhao, DD going this way would have been really good, because then the Des Moines, Des Moines, Zhao, DD. The DD could have spotted. The Zhao could harass and shoot the DD if in case it gets radared or spotted by the DD. And both the Des Moines and Zhao have no issues disengaging if need be, and they can kite away as well. So the setup was wrong. I didn't like the setup, and I don't think you necessarily played it that badly with the setup you had. I just think the initial deployment was the big issue there. Right.